back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back pickle biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
This is kind of awkward. Let me explain why. Michael Bisping, aka Left Hook Larry, is planning on his last fight being in March in England. Now we already knew that coming out of his main event Madison Square Garden fight versus Georges St. Pierre when he lost his middleweight title via submission in, I believe, round 3. Now, he was looking to come back and fight in March. The UFC's got a big card in England, and he said he wanted one more fight. You know, he was going to retire, but he wanted to do it in front of his home crowd. Well, much to everybody's surprise, Michael Bisping took a fight 3 weeks away, 3 weeks out from his loss to Georges St. Pierre. So just 3 weeks from Madison Square Garden UFC 217, he accepted a fight on short notice versus Kelvin Gastelum whenever Anderson Silva was forced out of the fight because of a USADA violation. So Kelvin Gastelum needed an opponent for the main event of UFC Shanghai. Michael Bisping himself stepped up, which it was shocking, honestly. When I heard the news, couldn't believe it. He just fought in the main event of Madison Square Garden versus Georges St. Pierre, lost his title. He got dropped and submitted in that fight. I'm surprised he's even medically cleared to fight, let alone taking the fight. He just got a big payday, but it makes sense. It is Michael Bisping for one. That's how he got his title in the first place, stepping up short notice, beating Luke Rockhold, shocking the world. Now he's fighting Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum is a killer. One thing about Kelvin Gastelum is he is just a little, he's got a similarity with Georges St. Pierre as he used to fight at welterweight, but Kelvin Gastelum has actually had more fights than you would think at middleweight now because he had weight issues, weight management issues at welterweight, missed weight a few times, was forced up to middleweight. Since then, he's been on a Legends ass-kicking tour. He's been taking out all of the top middleweights that were pretty much, 35 years and older? You know what I'm saying? Maybe you get the point. Now he's fighting Michael Bisping, another legend. His last fight, Kelvin Gastelum's last fight, was a loss to Chris Weidman, where you kind of saw, maybe he should be at welterweight with the proper nutritionist, maybe with the help of the UFC's Performance Institute, or hiring one of these, big name nutritionists, or, a good nutritionist. Maybe he could be very successful at welterweight. If there was a 175-pound division, Kelvin Gastelum might be the champion. Who knows? Tyron Woodley's still around, but he's definitely could be a killer at welterweight, in my opinion. But right now he's fighting at middleweight. He had a fight with Anderson Silva scheduled. This was his second time his fight with Anderson Silva was scheduled and canceled. So now Michael Bisping stepping up, 3 weeks away from his title loss to Georges St. Pierre. And why this is awkward to me is because it's always weird whenever somebody's got a fight and they're kind of planning ahead. And this stuck out to me in the Donald Cerrone fight versus Darren Till, because Donald Cerrone said, I already got he wanted to fight, I believe, in December 30th. Him and one of his teammates came out and said they can't say who, but they already pretty much had an opponent lined up for after the Darren Till fight. Well, we know how that went. He got knocked out in the first round. I believe he had like a broken nose, maybe some other injuries. Needless to say, he won't be fighting December 30th. So Michael Bisping's got to go through this fight and make sure he comes out with, if he wants to retire in March, he's got to make sure he's going to be medically cleared to fight in March. This fight's going to happen at the end of November, so 4 months out from March. So hopefully he doesn't have, any serious injuries after this fight. But one good thing for Michael Bisping, definitely much respect and props for taking this fight right after his Georges St. Pierre fight. But one thing that he has in his favor, both of these fighters have a camp, but one of the things about Michael Bisping, that normal short notice fights, one of the things you get respect for is, or props for, is you don't have a full fight camp. Lucky for Michael Bisping, not only did he have a full fight camp for Georges St. Pierre, it was probably one of the hardest fight camps of his life. It's a 5-round fight, the biggest fight of your life. He probably trained pretty goddamn hard for Georges St. Pierre. So the fact that this fight's not too long after that fight, he might be like, hey, I'm going to try and take this fight while I'm in the best shape of my life, pick up a W, retire in England on 2, I'm down with this. So I'm glad Michael Bisping's at least had somewhat of a camp, but It definitely, this is going to be a good fight. I looked at the rest of the card, Michael Bisping versus Kelvin Gastelum. It's on Fight Pass. I mean, the rest of it, I didn't really notice many of the names. It was surprising. I mean, it's a lot of, like, names, like Asian names, like people on their UFC debuts and stuff from, like, because the event's in Shanghai, so maybe they picked up some people over there. But the main event is definitely worthy, so I'll be watching probably the whole main card. It is on Fight Pass. It's not for about 2 weeks from now, 2.5 weeks. Michael Bisping versus Kelvin Gastelum. With that being said, it is what it is. Michael Bisping revealed this on the MMA Hour today with Ariel Helwani, that he looks for his last fight to be in England. You know, after, whether this is win or lose versus Kelvin Gastelum, he's definitely got one more fight. He said, I'm not going to be retiring in Shanghai. You know, I haven't built up like a reputation with the Chinese people. I want to retire in front of the people, you know, that have supported me throughout my career. So it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what the fuck you tell me in the comments. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.